All right, guys, it's about that time. We had to cancel the old one, so we actually need to share. If anyone can help us out, get the word out on this space. The one that we were sitting around, we weren't able to get that started. So let's just share that out one more time. Smoked, how's it going? Welcome back. So we're going to get into some lore talk today. That is kind of always been a big anchor of Infinity Labs. So I think that is a great like place to have an episode two and kind of talk about like how the project views lore and how we're going to build out, and then also like some of our lore writers, what they've gone on to accomplish, what they're still working on, and then a few other pieces of business. Close my door, show myself off from the world. Will is here. How's it going, Will? I'll have actually Will come up here in not too long. I'll go ahead and send you a request invite to speak. Um, we're going to talk about something that he actually put into effect that's really cool. Hopefully, we'll bring back some of the lore masters as well as promote new lore masters. If you don't know, we are always looking for some lore writers to come in to Infinity Labs and build out stories and lore to the scenes. The really cool thing about how the project is set up is that each of our NFTs have 8 different timelines so that lore masters are able to build out their worlds and not feel like they conflict with other writers. But this is something kind of we're talking on the back end as well, just with like how do we build out a quote unquote standard for the Soulverse, which is where what our worlds are called. How do we build out that standard? But then also, how do we build out a? I am blanking the term right now. Canon. That's the correct term. How to build out our own canon. And so I'll get into that a little bit. But Will, how are you doing? If you want to just come on, introduce yourself, what you do with the team, and then what you put into effect this week.
Hey man, how is it going?
Dude, doing well. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh no. By the way, thank you so much for having me here. And yeah, I'm so happy to join this Twitter Spaces. So first, welcome everyone. I am Will. I am one of the Infinity Labs member, and I predominantly work at the moment in the newsletter publication. And also, I'm handling the Solvers Wiki, and I'm doing the Twitter stuff, and doing some visuals, graphics, and yeah, just also general admin things. And yeah, sure, I would love to share something about lore in the wiki. So just a quick backstory. Last week, I was just simply scrolling through our wiki and just casually having some brainstorming on what else can we do with the wiki. And so with that, I was reading some lore, trying to get some ideas and inspiration, because whenever I ran out of ideas and motivation while building stuff, I just simply head over to the wiki and spend some time to read some amazing lore, and that actually helps me boost and generate ideas, and then go back to working things again, and until something pop up in my head. And I thought it would be nice to have some kind of section in the wiki where we highlight a lore from the community, so that anyone who visit and maybe just simply came across the wiki, this lore of the day will be some sort of message or inspiration to them. So I just thought that same with my experience, someone whoever read that lore of the day might inspire him or her to create something or might bring some kind of nostalgia or memory in the past that he or she never forgets. So well, that being said, the possibilities and the solvers is infinite. Yeah.
Hey, well, I love that. Again, guys, sorry, I there's all sorts of
It's
rugging
okay.
going on.
Totally fine. Things happen, you know.
Yes, yes. So since this is a lore episode, I wanted to just like read out the lore of the day
Yeah.
that was posted. It's called Greenway. If you guys are in our Discord, come to the community lore tab. And yeah, just go ahead and read this along or play the little video. It's always cool to see like the reference material. Um, yeah, that these passages are based off of. But this is
Yeah.
called the Greenway. It's from Lore Master Elizabeth.
Lisbeth.
Greenway is passage to your heart's desire. Simply whisper what you wish before entering, and it shall come true. The answers to your dreams lie beyond the Greenway threshold. That is awesome. And like I haven't read this one before, and I've been going through, some of it. So there's always like new pieces of lore, new content, and we definitely want to highlight that and the community members who build out these lore and stories. I know we kind of rugged in and out, but what I was saying at the beginning of the spaces is we're so lucky to have a collection that has timelines because that allows people to build out their own stories and their own versions of the Soulverse of our world, and yeah, truly create at their speed and not having to wait. That being said, I also referenced that we have started to build out a canon of sorts on one of the timelines, and I am working on an official story as well that leads us into all sorts of crazy things in 2023. um, but anyways, Will, just real fast, do you have a favorite scene or a favorite piece of lore that you have posted?
Oh man, that's hard. Actually, there's a lot of lore that captivated my heart. And well, something that I would like to add is during creating that lore of the day, you know, that I realized that it's gonna be an awesome way to celebrate and you know appreciate the creativity of our lore masters. And through this lore of the day, I also realized that it's a great way to promote our wiki and inspire everyone in the community to lore, to write and share their story with the solvers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of what we do now is going to be building out communities and tools for creators of all sorts, not just lore writers. Um, but yeah, musicians and artists, and we can blend together and like work on these bigger pieces that we can do all sorts of cool things with.
Yeah.
One of them being actually, I don't know, maybe I'll request send an invite to Eve. I don't know if she has a time to talk about Dreambound for a minute, but that is like one of many things that we'll be able to do with our lore and this project. Eve, how's it going? Welcome up.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. We had some rugging issues, but
Yeah,
we
no
were back on
worries.
track.
I was trying to join, I think, the other spaces, and I was like, it ended. I was like, oh wait, what? I was trying to find the new ones, and then yeah, a couple links later, I was able to get to it. But yeah,
Yep, the 5 minute Twitter spaces every week, guys.
Totally.
Uh, um, but yeah, speaking of like lore and stories and creating these things that will live beyond us. Can you talk about Dreambound a little bit? Because that's actually like a big thing for both Infinity Labs and Dreambound, and our community.
Yeah, for folks who haven't seen our announcements on Twitter and Discord, we announced our participation in basically the Infinity Labs X Dreambound payload mission to the International Space Station that's happening on December 15th. So next week, which is super wild, we have some we this is like an amazing opportunity to bring the ecosystem together, to connect with tons of ecosystem partners. We have the Solana Foundation, Metaplex, Magic Eden, um, Solana Spaces, DGods, Monkey DAO, Star Atlas. You know, you name it, probably they're likely on participating on this payload as a partner. Um, we even have some folks on the F side, like World of Women, OpenSea, sending stuff up on this payload, and Infinity Labs is, of course, sending up lots of stuff on this payload as well. Some of them will probably be surprises, but the thing that has been announced is, if you're a holder of merged scenes, so two timelines, um, you can actually send up your name, your Discord name, or the name of a loved one to this payload as a kind of pseudo passenger to space. So it's going to be sent up to the ISS, where it'll do a full orbit around Earth and then be beamed to neighboring star systems. And we are putting together also like a little payload site of all the stuff that's being sent across the ecosystem, including Infinity Lab stuff. And the name that you're sending up, like as a passenger, if you choose to do that, there's also an option on the form. If you don't want it to be shared on a public site, you can elect not to, but it'll still be sent. And we go to the stars, and you'll be able to see how far away it is from Earth. And it's a really fun event that we are super excited to put on and make possible. We're working with Magic Eden. They're helping us out if we can get out a story or some PR. We'll see how that goes. I was putting together write-ups last night and submitted it to them. But we're excited to announce all the other partners with this payload. And this is kind of the first time anything like this is being done in the ecosystem. So super, super excited. A lot of, you can see like the Infinity Labs collection is inspired by space. And there's something about like when I was creating the scenes and writing stories, there was something about looking up at the sky and thinking and space that makes you think of beyond, zoom out a bit, like life imitates art in many ways, or life imitates sci-fi. In technological progress imitates sci-fi and fiction quite a bit. There's just something about it that unites us and pushes us and ignites us to seek more. So that's why I thought it would be really fulfilling, to send this stuff to space and then have folks across the ecosystem participate. And then there's other things that we can play with over time, but we're mostly focused on this first payload, see how it goes. But I'm super excited. Aaron and I will both be on site in Houston, so making some content. Um, Yeah, Aaron, you have any thoughts, comments?
Oh no, I'm really excited for it, and um, yeah, so much potential, so many cool things that we could do. Going forward with this launch, but also the following launches. Like, how cool, like for bringing it back to writers of our community. Like, how cool is it that like you can come participate in this space, build out your own world, and then like send it to space. Like, and you have, fairly easy access to do so. Um, and yeah, we're going forward, just building out, these creations together is just going to be really, really cool. I also want to invite the audience, anybody who would like to come up, say something, or ask a question at any point. Feel free to request. And yeah, we'd love to bring you up here, answer any of your questions. Yeah, I just wanted to give that invitation out. I might drop some. See, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but I might drop some of our story alpha from 5 here in a minute. But yeah, coming back here. Also, real fast, going back to the Dreambound. If you guys have a piece of content that you think would be really cool to see as a community member, let us know as well, and we can go capture that for you.
Woo! I'm so hyped. I'm really excited. It's been this whole thing, especially with space, trying to figure out the logistics and if it's even possible, took a while and a ton of resources and a lot of explaining, like what the heck is Web3, what the heck are NFTs. Um, but I'm so glad that it's coming together. And when people think about getting an involvement in space, it's normally you're either a billionaire or a government agency. And I'm so excited that this space in Web3 and we're able to democratize that, especially for our community members and creators.
No, definitely. No, I'm really excited. Um, it makes me want to get stuff ready for the next launch, actually. What should I send up? What piece of lore?
Yeah, so
um,
there's no like any guarantees of next launch and stuff like that, but um, for
sure.
the first one's happening next week. I mean, I would love to be able to do more. I'm sure there's going to be tons of learnings from this first one, and we're starting off with a fantastic foundation because the past couple of weeks I've been meeting with tons of leaders across the ecosystem. As I mentioned earlier, there's probably a lot name like a top organization in within the ecosystem, and they're probably participating in the payload. And so I've been doing tons and tons of networking and trying to think about how we can better share our story, better share Infinity Labs, and kind of look for other collaboration opportunities. Um, and we're starting on a great foot with tons of support. Like right now, I don't know if anyone's been keeping up with NFT CT Twitter. On there's a lot of drama right now on royalties between Metaplex, Magic Eden, and all this kind of stuff. But the space payload, all of those people are participating in it and are really excited. It kind of brings people together in a way.
Yeah, we definitely need more of like these type of activities. Just yeah, getting people together, um, going to some kind of event, or you know, launching something or creating something together. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. I think there will also be like future contests that I am kind of putting together the structure for right now for our lore writers and artists and musicians, not only so that they could like, well, actually, so not only so they could win some cool stuff that we have that's in the works, but also that we have those grants. And that's something I always want to bring up in the spaces, guys, because it's something like we're really proud of at Infinity Labs. Like, come into the Discord, check out our grants, and you can apply. And these things are ongoing for an Infinity Labs grant to create something for the project within the project. Um, so come check that out. I'll have actually a readout that I'll that I'll get ready for next time. Kind of promoting that because that's one of the ways that I may have gotten on the Infinity Labs radar. Actually, no, I was one of the first 3 grant winners, and I started the story called Five, and it's through that story that I'm actually going to build out a one of the timelines, and that will be timeline 5. And this is going to get into a little bit of the alpha. I won't spoil any of the story and whatnot, but as we build out like these communities, I wanted not only, you know, community and groups that Infinity Labs members could attach to, but I wanted stories and characters and leaders and guilds and everything that could fit within a fantasy world. So I kind of at it like from that perspective. So the story starts with our main character, and she has a special ability to travel between timelines. So we get this cool aspect of merging that has always been part of the Infinity Labs project, you know, getting two scenes, putting them together. But I was like, but who's on the other side and what's their stories? So if you go into the AI Corner and community lore tabs, I have posted little hints about this group called the Preservers. And what they do is they are directly in opposition to the mergers because they believe that their timeline needs to be preserved how it is, and they want their instance preserved. So we now have two groups, and there are more as we build out the story. But there's two groups in the start of this that we can really like create a ton of stories with, and that will be a foundation of the Soulverse. So I'm really excited to kind of release that, get this first story out, and then build maybe an episodic adventure with it. So yeah, that's a little bit of alpha. So I'd love to hear as we start to release some of this stuff what you guys are thinking, and how you want to build out with that. But again, I want to invite, yeah, Eva, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. I want to invite the community again. If anybody wants to come up and speak about lore with us, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I realize now that we don't have a dedicated grants tab in our Discord, so we can probably put that together so it's a little bit easier for people to find the form. Because people have asked me that before. It's like, where is it? And there's a bit of digging that you need to do to find it. So we'll definitely work on making that more obvious and accessible. Maybe we can. What might be helpful for folks too is putting together, examples of successful grant applications, including, Aaron's 5 story. And yeah, that was one of the things that yeah, got Aaron was on our radar. But I will stop talking because I see Arktype on stage, so go for
And
it.
I think that's a good idea, Eve. Maybe yeah, I know we're traveling next week, but um, here in the next little bit of time, it'd be cool to yeah put that together. I think that'd be really good for people to see. But how's it going, Archetype? How you doing?
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm good. Really good. It's good to see everyone here again.
Yeah, man. Welcome back. It was great talking to you last week.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited for this one too. This is an area where I am fascinated with, but I don't know too much about. So yeah, I have some questions.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so like for me, I've dabbled in some lore. I'm not very good at writing. I have great ideas, but I just kind of just go for it. Like I just splurt it out, and there's no real structure or process to it. It's just get everything out of my head as fast as possible. But what I'm looking at now is how to refine that. So tools that I can use, resources that I can go to, and places where I can learn how to become a better storyteller, better lore story.
I love that. That's such a good question, and there are a lot of tools to help build out worlds. I think that like you're on the right path though. Just getting all those ideas out first really can like help um, give you direction. And I think that like something in the more recent times I've played around with was, and I don't want to jump directly to AI, but I just want to briefly mention it. Like, there's a lot of cool tools you can use where you can take those ideas that you've written down and put them as a prompt, and the AI can start to spit out storylines for you. Um, that's a fast way. I would also say that, you can go back to the age old book, of how to create a world or world building. Um, from there, there's a lot of great YouTube resources as well. But as far as like internet tools, oh man, this is hard for me because like I will say their names, but I also think there's a lot that we can borrow from them and bring into Web3 that I think we could, I would at least like to propose to the team here at Infinity Labs. Um, but yeah, let me just go ahead. I think it's Fireside. I think that's the second one, but World Anvil is the other one. And what these tools allow us to do is to take all your ideas and just start to structure. So it has a timeline tool where you can put any events that you have written down and start to order those. It has a character tool. And this is the thing that really drew me to World Anvil, is because you can write down your character's name. You can import an image, which is now easier to get done because you could also do that with AI art and just throw it into World Anvil. Um, but it also allows you to put things like emotions and feelings, likes, dislikes, and you can create family trees, friendship trees, enemy trees, and just like a whole web of how they interact and how they feel about each character, so that as you're writing, you can create dynamic scenes when you remember and it's all plotted out. Like, hey, this character might be a little hesitant towards believing or taking the advice of this character. Or maybe they're not because character C is alongside them and C is character B's, best friend. So now the dynamic changes, and you can keep track of all of that using this tool. It also allows for things like history, environments, animals, locations. Actually, to be honest, everything that you can find in the Infinity Lab scenes. So I think that these are this is a tool I would like to borrow, but starting off, no budget. I would use the YouTube and the book resources. But if you do have a little bit of a budget, I would pay for something like World Anvil to start plotting out your story.
Yeah, cool. That's super helpful. I feel like the really cool stories is ones that obviously have been thought out, and before they get to a critical point, they've already dropped like a bunch of hints in like episode 1, season 1, and then it's not until like way down the track that those little subtle hints start to come up and start to play into the storyline, and then you go, oh wow, like it's like a little treasure that you find, or that you remember from the earlier episodes, and that's the sort of stuff that I want to weave into storyline. And what you described, like being able to plot all that out with all those intricacies, I feel is super valuable. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's really cool. And then probably like one other question is like publication. Like, how do you guys go about like finding the best avenues to sort of put your story out there? Like apart from obviously Infinity Labs.
Yeah, another great question. And I'd love to hear if Eve has seen anything or will. But I'm not a traditionalist, so I usually stay away um, from the usual means of publication. Um, there's also, self-publishing like the Amazon route and so on. And I think that's great if you can build an audience um, beforehand or while you write or while you're creating your worlds. I think that is really important anyways. Even if you do go the traditional route, it'll be a lot more likely for someone to bring you on or publish a piece of your work if you have a good fan base already. So I think that's the trick to everything nowadays is community building. So looking towards Web3, I'm a little less well versed. A lot of what I'm seeing in writing is taking place within NFT communities based off of their NFTs. But I am curious because we do have like one of one artists. And I am curious now. I haven't really thought of it until you asked the question, but I'm curious now, like if there's a space for like writers of that kind as well. Just I don't know. I'll have to think on that. But yeah, I'm a little less versed in the publication aspect. But I would say number one, build your community, and then number two, decide the best way to release it based on your story. For instance, is it a short story? Is it episodic? Is it long form? And then go from there.
Yeah, these are fantastic questions, by the way, because I think it speaks to the kinds of things that we'd like to support or help guide people on these questions of like, okay, how do we become a better writer? What are the best resources to get started with? And like so many gears are turning in my head. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like we can probably put together an awesome guide, or updating resources on that. If you have questions on publication, that's like, well, the questions to consider of like, do you want to publish on the Web3 route? Do you want to publish on the Web2 route? Because there are new companies coming out on publishing books on chain, for example. Like a friend of mine is founding a company that specifically focuses on NFT books. And there's other one-of-one artists in the ecosystem, specifically in Solana. One that I'm thinking of is John Lay, who I think is the top grossing one-of-one artist on Solana, and I think he just released an NFT that it's I think that grants you a copy or a hard copy of a comic book that he's coming out with. So there's a lot of non-traditional ways of publication. I think in this space you'll probably find a lot more of those like non-traditional routes and not going through a publishing house. But uh, yeah, like on Aaron, what do you think about putting together like resources like this of like, here's some stuff on self-publishing, here's some stuff on like, oh, here are some companies that are working on publishing on chain, here's some resources for self-publishing, traditional like things to ask yourself if you want to consider the traditional publishing route, and then similarly for improving writing skills, um, like maybe
Yeah,
even like a guide section somewhere.
100%. Man, I have to echo what you were saying. Like, these are good questions. And like this last one about publishing isn't one I've thought about in like ages. So I really appreciate the questions. But yes, Eve, we should definitely start putting this together. Um, just collecting all the information over these Twitter Spaces, questions that are asked, and just creating a giant tool or library of sorts, I guess, where our creators could access that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because on the Infinity Labs end, we haven't published anything in the traditional route. Pretty much everything that we have is on a wiki that anyone can kind of contribute to, edit, contribute to over time, and a lot of the content gets, I guess, published in the form of art, in the form of long form videos, animations, all that sort of stuff. So this is also even a question that we're exploring for ourselves. So yeah, it would be fantastic to be able to help as we're learning these things on our side, give those resources to our community members and folks who are interested as well, because we really want to help ignite creators.
Oh yeah, for sure. You have any other questions, Archetype, or any comments?
Not really. I think because I'm just so fresh in it all, I really just need those basic steps. So yeah, what you guys described is good. I think that's a lot of homework for me. I'll probably
Honestly,
have more next week.
I think you'd have so much fun playing with Chat GPT. Um, if you don't know what that is, feel free to go to our Discord and go to AI Corner. And I think I fed it a story about Aaron. I think he was. I described a scene. It was just like, write a. I asked Chat GPT. It's like, oh, write a short story on Aaron, a lore master who writes stories for Infinity Labs in a room with a mysterious orb, and it just spit out like a couple paragraphs on a pretty cohesive story. And it was, I think I was talking about this before. It's like smithing almost. It's like it gives you some raw material, and then you can be like, "Huh, this is interesting." If you like move it around, smith it a bit, or use that to cast some more spells into the AI, with more prompts and runes, you can get to some interesting things. So if
Yeah,
you want, you can feel free to have fun with us in the AI corner. We can probably give you like the link on how to use it, and it's kind of addicting at first because you're just gonna. I don't know if you've tried it out before, but it's incredible how good large language models are getting and how user friendly they're getting now.
I have had a short play with it, but what I've got is like I've got like a really sort of precise storyline of what I want, but it's just expanding on those words. So I think I need to either shorten my story down to point form and then see what it comes out with, or try throwing like my lore story that I've already created into it and see if it comes up with something better. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's even on OpenAI, if you create an account too, there's, aside from ChatGPT 3, GPT, which was meant for conversational stuff, there's also, you can feed it existing story that you have, and then it'll try to continue it, if that makes sense. So it kind of, sometimes it'll veer off into a twist or do something more predictable. I think it's particularly good for writer's block, or if you're trying to, um, yeah, just gain some additional inspiration. So there's a lot that we can play with. I think definitely we should put all of these resources that I'm mentioning now into like a doc so that it's easier to reference for everyone later.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we'll work on that. My mind is going. Like, yeah, creating a doc, maybe even creating like a loom or something for the community that just sits there with like, hey, if you want to do this, go here. But yeah, super great questions, Archetype. I need to actually go in and have a play with in GPT-3. Is that correct? I believe so. Um, because I had played with another one for writing, and it actually was mind blowing. Like, not so much for like storyline, because I already had like the main story, but it every so often it would spit out a line that like inspired me. For instance, within the Infinity Labs world, I was having a play, and um I have a character, obviously, and then there's 8 timelines. But in the beginning, they're like, this character is being born, but she has all these different mothers. And I thought that, like, to me, that just kind of blew my mind. Like, imagine the scene playing out, with AI art or something where there's this little child and the child looks up and you can see like different moms, in each one of the different timelines. And it's like, either a different face or a different piece of clothing or, just something little. And then I was just like, oh man, this thing is cool. So I'll definitely have to jump onto GPT-3 and continue building. But awesome. I want to again open it up if anybody has any questions. Again, thank you, Arktype. We have a few more minutes here. I was for next week actually. I'll be in Houston. So maybe I'll have to do one like from the hotel room or something. But I actually want to do another AI art one, but open up a discussion. I went like deep down the rabbit hole of AI art, but also a hashtag that's AI art is theft. And I didn't know how much the other side, you know, hated AI, and I'm sure writers are like that too. And I don't want to go negative with it, but like I do want to discuss kind of like where we're at in the time, and I think that would be a very interesting conversation. I'll try to get some speakers all set for that one, so we can either have a debate or just like a conversation about the topic in general. I know Eve has a lot of great thoughts and quotes from this, and I've really thought it out as well. So I think that'd be a great conversation. Perhaps for the week after next, if we have the time, it'd be fun to jump on and maybe do a um, spacebound playing off of like Infinity Labs and Dreambound and spaces of our experience in Houston while we're in Houston. That could be pretty fun. But anyways, yeah, I'll leave it open for a few more minutes here, or another minute, I should say. And if we don't have any questions, we can wrap up for this week. Feel free to ask about the project in general as well, and we'll try to get to your questions.
I have a question for folks either in the audience or Aaron or Archetype. I'm curious how much fiction works influence the art that you make or the lore that you write. Like, do you have go-to trilogies or storylines, or have you read interesting books or watched movies recently that kind of inspire your direction?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we all have like a well, maybe we don't all, but maybe a top 10 movies, top 10 books, top 10, so on and so forth. Um, for me personally, I love some of the concepts in, I think, the 2007 or 2008 movie Sunshine. Still one of my favorite sci-fis. Also The Fountain, which I think is 2006 film by Darren Aronofsky. That's just pure art and beauty. Um, Pan's Labyrinth, which is basically a fairy tale for grown-ups, is beautiful and is inspiring five quite a bit, which is my story for Infinity Labs. I'll stop there and open it up if anybody else wants to speak.